What is going on, my no bullshit crew? Your boy is back in the building. Y'all, listen. It has been a very long week for your boy. Okay, almost 2 weeks. Let's talk about it right quick. First and foremost, I want to give a shout out to Nortels for actually giving me my props for their new beat and intro. That new production intro is fire. Also, let's give a shout out to Melanated Mysteries for their new beat for Willie and Tiffany over there. I'm pretty proud of that. I really am. It is a blessing to be able to have these folks uh, liking my beats and the things that I've done. So let's talk about my week right quick. So today is my mom's birthday. So I got to give mom a happy birthday. And then last week, it was my son's birthday. Now, on a side note, I want y'all to understand something. Is when your children get older as adults does not mean that the parenting woes stop. They still come at you, in some cases, way worse than they were teenagers. That's just something I want y'all folks to understand that is starting your journey with your kids, especially if you got a newborn or the ones that are almost got the kids out the door in high school. Please keep that in mind that when they become adults, it don't stop. Okay, it don't stop. They will still come at you for advice, uh, with craziness and everything that's entails. But they are a blessing, and it does make you feel good when they do finally take all the stuff you have been teaching them and put it together and make it happen. Now, y'all know that I got a job that is very demanding in management, and that's another reason why y'all have not heard from me, bro. It's been nuts. My wife, I'm telling you, I was working so much one time. My wife was like, I think you need to quit this job. And I was telling her, boo, we got bills to pay. And where we at in this little town, and I had to go to about a 40-minute drive over. This is going to be our best bet because when you in a little small area in South Georgia, and if you're near the bigger cities like Savannah, Brunswick, Valdosta, Douglas, Georgia, pretty good opportunities. So give or take. Or if you're near bigger towns like Waycross, Georgia, something like that, you may have an opportunity to be able, or Pooler, Georgia, or Port Wentworth, Georgia. You may have an opportunity to stay above ground. Or if you're in the low country of South Carolina, like Beaufort, South Carolina, or Hilton Head. If you're not near any of those major areas I just named and you in South Georgia, now it's all about trying to improvise and do what you got to do to survive. So that's why I have been working a lot of hours. Hopefully soon me and my wife are adjusting. It's been almost 5 weeks on this new job. Uh, I'm getting there. I think I need maybe 2 more weeks, and I think my body will actually get into a routine of okay, this is what I got to do today, and this is what I got to do the next day when I'm off. So if you don't hear from me, it's not because I'm avoiding you guys. It's just that my schedule is so crazy. I'm not able to drop whenever I can drop, but I will try to drop on a weekly basis. Once again, we got a few housekeeping rules for you guys to understand. Listen, guys, I need y'all to participate in these polls on Spotify. I also need you guys that are listening to me on Apple Podcasts. I've been looking at the analytics. There's about 100 or so of you guys are listening to my channel, my podcast. I need you guys to drop some comments. It don't have to be the best comments in the world. Just drop a comment, long as it's respectful of constructive criticism. If you love the show, tell why you love it. You know. Also, too, if you got a problem with my content, you don't like it, I would like for you to rate it 5 stars, please, because it helps with the algorithm. And then get in the comment section and tell me that what you don't like about it. Case suggestions, guys. Y'all can suggest cases to me on my email. It's always down below. I do check my email religiously. So if you got a case suggestion, I will get into it and look it up. Also, another reminder about the Facebook group. I am actively trying to get back into my Facebook. I forgot the password. Hopefully, I should be back in it this week. And I will make sure on the Facebook group we can continue to discuss these cases and ask you questions and address them as we can. Now, there will be a segment in between whenever I can get to these. If I, working on the case or got an episode that we're not finished yet, it will be called, it's going to be called Breaking News Moments. Breaking News Crime, True Crime, Breaking News True Crime Moments. BTCM. That's what we're going to call it. Let me rephrase that. BNTCM. There you go. Breaking News True Crime Moments. This is going to be something that has recently happened. It could be a fraud case. It could be, like I said, what we always talk about on here, somebody being unalive. It could be a kidnapping. Whatever that is shocking that is going on that made headlines, we're going to touch it. I got one coming up sometime tomorrow. Be on the lookout of that as soon as this podcast is released. And it's going to be a good one. It's going to give you something to think about. And we'll try to do it on the group too, so y'all can comment on it. Also, too, check out the BTCC Collective. They are in Atlanta doing a live crime show this weekend. Melanated Mysteries, Tiffany and Willie. Reach out to Miss Renee Davis on Melanated Mayhem, or you can reach out to my other homie of the BTCC Collective, Mr. King Arthur. Holler at these folks, see if you may be able to snag some tickets. It's going to be a good thing. I wish I could go, but my work schedule won't allow me to go to Atlanta, even though I know everybody thinks because I live in Georgia, we're next door to Atlanta. That's not how it works. Georgia is a big state, so unfortunately, I'm on the lower part. But I'm hoping in the future, me and my wife can book some tickets and go to a live crime show, because the sip and paint, that's something I could see my wife and me enjoying, because she also likes to sip and she also likes to be artistically in paint. All right, enough of that. Y'all ain't came back for this. Y'all came to hear me get to the story, and I'm so sorry for being long-winded, but I love you guys so much. Let's jump into the story, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. This is part 3 of Yuri Banks. That's right. AKA Mr. Too Good to Be True. Now, when we was talking about Mr. Too Good to Be True, we were talking about that Makeeva has been tragically murdered in her home while sleeping in the bed, while her husband, who is upstairs outside of the door of this particular area, is on the ground. I gotta find out his brother's name. Lord. Anyway, her brother, and I forgot his name, God forgive me, but he's also on the ground. He's trying to tell his brother-in-law, like, Yuri, we can take these guys. And his friend Demetri is also upstairs on the ground. 2 against 3. But Yuri is like, no, we can't do that. It's not gonna, it just ain't gonna be safe. Let's just do what he says. And wife gets killed, and not Makeeva gets killed, and not to mention too, before Makeeva gets killed, Demetri did something that was very odd to everybody. He asked if he could take the little boy downstairs before old buddy put the hot ones into Makeeva. Now, Makeeva family is devastated. Her brother is like, yo, man, how can this be? This is my sister. Like, this is not supposed to happen. But, people are starting to talk. And people are starting to say, listen, y'all need to look more into this because it seems like to us that Mr. Yuri is a little bit more acting like he know more than what he knows. And people are trying to figure out why this whole home invasion has went down, especially with the whole they asking for her mother Quest, Harold. But Quest like, yo, I ain't been around my children like that. And not to mention too, you gotta look at Quay. They have also looked at the brother, and the brother like, yo, I ain't got nothing to do against my sister. So we're going to get back into the whole scenario case about what the police is now finding out. What we left off, they had one of these three knuckleheads in their crosshairs at the interrogation room. Joseph is like, I don't know any of these people, and I've never been in any car with Demetri. And the prosecution, the detectives is like, bro, I don't know who you trying to fool, but we see you. Like, we see you, homie. Like, we see you. Definitely know this guy. And he's still saying, no, I don't know him, man. Like, I done told y'all, man, I don't know this cat, man. Y'all trying to get me in something that I ain't a part of. You know how people do when they don't want to be a part of nothing. They be like, man, you trying to get me in something I'm not a part of, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's not gonna work. They're like, listen, bud, we can do this one of two ways. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the hard way. And right now, I advise you to do it the easy way. And that's what's happening right now. That is the gist of what we're doing. Joseph is trying to act like he do not know these people, like he's never met anyone in his life. So we're gonna go and pick off from there. So while this guy is playing tough, the police decided to, at the meantime, put this guy on ice and start to reinvestigate more about the relationship of Yuri and Makeeva. So as they go back to talk to Demetri started talking about what his friend was on. Demetri like, listen, all right, a couple of days before Makeeva's murder, I went over to my boy Yuri's house, like, and as he always did, as we always do, we hung out over there, and we walked into the car, and Yuri just said to me like, "What if I kill my dad for some insurance?" And Demetri was like, yo, man, quit playing. Stop talking crazy. That's just ridiculous. And then he said, Yuri looked at him again and said, even better than that. What if I did that same thing to Makeeva? So this kind of chilled him for a minute. Why would he say that? What's going on? So as he's talking about killing his wife or whatever, Demetri Dale decided to keep it to himself. He ain't gonna go to the police or whatever have you. In his mind is like, this is my boy. I'm gonna help make this happen. So the night before he and Javon went back to Yuri's house, they all met up, and that's when the idea was born during that meeting. That Demetri was like, yo, listen, Yuri, I ain't no stepper like that, but I know a stepper, okay? Oh, you do? Who? Javon, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, Javon, that dude. And not to mention, too, you throw him enough bread, Javon will make it get done with no problem. So, Demetri, in a nutshell, was also saying and telling Yuri that, yeah, that he'll be willing to kill the wife. And by the way, I'm going to bring my boy up so you can meet him. Now, so Demetri was like, listen, I really wasn't before this, and I really didn't want to do this, but unfortunately, I had to do what I had to do because that's my boy, and you know what I'm saying. He was going to try to. He wanted it done. He was stressing. That's what I did. By the way, my dogs are barking because my my son is at the door. But y'all don't worry. Give me one moment here. I got to put myself off camera. Hold on, guys. So anyway, after this tape interview, they already knew that this guy doing a lot of lying, but he also divulged some good information that could help with the case, right? So that's when they was like, so nobody introduced him to you, Yuri. So Yuri have to have someone to do it. Hey. So he says that he brought this guy over that night, and he introduced Jovan to Yuri. He said that then he went in the house to use the restroom. And so he didn't hear the conversation, which again, he's distancing himself as much as possible. But the detectives pressed him, knowing that anyone in this deed was likely hiding more truth and everything else. So they like, come on now. I'm tired of being lied to. I need the truth, Demetri. And Demetri like, I'm not lying to you at all. And that's when the detective Oliver says, so did you know when the gunman was going to do this hit? Because you're not going to convince me that one, a guy they introduced to Yuri 18 hours before this murder, that Yuri just going to trust this guy to put in work unless you told him that this guy is certified to trust. Now, you know, you already done said that he wasn't feeling like he could do anything, and in the interview, he put him in contact with a shooter. He's still screaming, I'm not lying to you. I had no knowledge of this. I had no involvement in this. But his buddy Jovan Joseph, oh, he was about to talk. Because y'all know last time, Jovan had like he didn't know nobody. Remember, Mr. I don't know nobody? So while Jovan was waiting this out, Jovan started thinking to himself that, okay, this dude is basically going to try to make me look like the fall guy. And I ain't having that. So to save himself, he did what any other real thief would do. Real criminals do this. He decided to cooperate with the authorities, okay? And his lawyer reached out to, district attorney and stuff and was like, hey, listen, my client got important information about this case that could possibly help you guys get a solid conviction on these other individuals that were the key players involved. Now, all he is asking for in return, you know how these lawyers do, is a little bit of leniency, a deal per se. And they trying to nail, the one they really want is Yuri, so they trying to do everything they can to nail that mug. So they like, yeah, sure, no problem. Tell me what he knows. Anyway, that's when Joseph laid out the whole plan. Okay, he said that Jovan put it all in and put it all together because that his boy needed a hitman. So if it wasn't for Demetri, Jovan would have never met Yuri. So Joseph says that Yuri Jenkins was looking for someone to knock off the wife, right? He said that the first time he met Yuri was the night of the late night hours of June 27th, 2017. So they had this brief discussion about it. He went back over there with Demetri Dale that next day, which would be on the June 28th of 2017. So he sat in a chair and Yuri cut his hair. After Yuri was done cutting his hair, he said he went and got in the car and, chopped it up with Yuri. Yuri gave him 10,000 bands, aka, for all my people that don't know what bands are that listen to me, that's 10,000 American dollars. And after the job was done, Yuri was like, listen, man, I'll give you the rest of the money after everything get cleared. But apparently, Joseph had no idea that the fateful call would come so soon. Because when Yuri wanted it to happen that night, Vaughn leaves his car at the library. So he then gets into that Charger. Remember the Charger. Keep that in mind. That was Demetri was driving. And Demetri drives into the development and parks the car on the street in front of your house, right? So Jovan Joseph, he dressed in all black and armed with a revolver. And he waited in the dark for old Demetri to enter the garage. Then he approached on foot Yuri Jenkins, Demetri Dale, and Makeeva's brother, Quay. Now, not only Quay didn't know what was about to happen next, but they were in the garage when the intruder came in wearing a mask, and he came in with a firearm. And he ordered them into the house. Now, oh, and by the way, let me make that clear. There was only one assailant that came into the house. So there was 3 again against 1. So they headed straight upstairs to where Makeeva was asleep in her bed. And again, according to Joseph's statement, it was Yuri himself that gave the final order. Because Demetri Dale was coming upstairs with Quay. And he says Yuri kind of motioned his head, telling him which direction to go to get to the bedroom before Quay and them realized what he was doing. A moment later, Joseph put his gun inches from Makeeva's right temple and took that young lady out. Now, after this was all spilled out, old Yuri Jenkins was arrested on December the 15th, 2017, 6 months after his wife was taken from this world. Now, when he get questioned by the police and given a chance to confess or deny the accusation, Jenkins, like a true criminal, says, I ain't saying nothing until my attorney is present. So no, I ain't talking to y'all ass. Okay. So the strong evidence against him appeared overwhelming. And the state case still large rests on the statements of his 2 alleged accomplices. So it's safe to say that the defense, they could be able to quick point out their testimony and would be unreliable at best. Now, there was 2 prosecutors in the case, Alexandra and Adrian. The 2 prosecutors on that case knew they would have to be meticulous in their prosecution. So they had to present a narrative of the murder that was as airtight as could be. There's an old adage, gotta have the devil in the details. That's true if there's something on there that... Now, this is where it gets a little tricky, right? You got to worry about the jury or juror, because they may have a question. So Yuri Jenkins finally went on trial on May of 2022, right? So we're talking about, it's been a hot minute, since this all went down. It's been 5 years. So facing charges of first-degree murder, charges to which he pled not guilty, and armed with the testimony of both Demetri Dale and now the confessed shooter, Jovan Joseph, the prosecution presented a very compelling case. They alleged that Jenkins had hired Joseph to kill Makeeva in exchange for at least 10 grand. And his motive? Well, we know what the motive always is in these stories. He needed to collect that life insurance policy that he believed to be worth as much as 500 racks, which in today's language, for my other guest that does not know the lingo of the sling of money, $500,000. Now, the proof came courtesy of a recorded phone call between Jenkins and Makeeva's insurance company. That occurred just 2 days after Makeeva's death. Now, I know you wonder, wait a minute. What does that have to do with anything? Well, Yuri was on day 2 of grief, I guess, of recovery, enough to be like, I think it's time for me to cash in on my claim so I can tell them that I have to make arrangements and take care of my wife who left this world so early. So anyway, as he calls this, and it's recorded, and I'm gonna do a little bit of what they call simulation of how it was verbatim. It was like this. Thank you for calling Northwest Metro. This is Carrie. How can I help you? And this is when Yuri was like, I need to make funeral arrangements And so family members were telling me to contact the insurance company to see if they will release the funds so I could make the arrangements. He said that was his reason for calling. Yeah, they need to know that I'm the beneficiary so they can proceed with the service and for the funding company to go ahead on and give them money. As Makeeva's family and friends were preparing for the funeral, her widow was already inquiring about what he hoped to be a substantial windfall. But unfortunately for Jenkins, it didn't go according to plan. After Carrie told him to hold a brief moment, she came back and said, "Hi there, sir. My name is Carrie. I understand you have some questions about the beneficiary information." And that's when the representative said, and heard about what happened. They said, "And you were the spouse, sir?" He's like, "Yes, ma'am." Bear with me because I'm just looking up on the file and there's to find an initial application and verify the beneficiary. And I'm actually seeing on the application here that you are not listed as beneficiary. Oh, what? Wait a minute now. Wait a minute. You mean what? I'm not the beneficiary. So she asked for his name. And so she told him to hold on while she checked again. And she came back so later. He said, "Well, you're not the beneficiary." And he was not the beneficiary. See, it turns out that when Makeeva had brought her new policy, she named her grandmother, the woman who raised her, as the sole beneficiary, not her husband. Yuri Jenkins was a moment of silence from him. And he said, "Well, who is it?" And she was saying, "Well, sir, I can't tell you because you're not the beneficiary." And he then said, "Wow, she didn't change it in time." So let's pause for a minute, brother. You already been cheating on this woman, doing her dirty. Y'all already arguing. You're not paying her no attention. And you go and talk this woman into taking a $500,000 insurance policy, which she's paying for your lifestyle because you only a part-time barber. She's the breadwinner. You don't think she was going to overlook you and give that to someone that she know that is going to make sure that everything is going to be A1? You damn skippy she gonna give it to her mom, her grandma. So yeah, you just shit out of luck. Got him. So he goes and say, "Okay, I'm gonna figure out who it is." Oh wow, he's talking about he didn't change the time. And then we said, "In time for what?" Because she was very healthy. She ain't been diagnosed with no terminal illness. So she didn't change it in time. No. What happened is you was once a part of her beneficiary paperwork, but when she found out what you was on, Mr. Yuri, because everybody, when you live with a person, you can know what they are on faster than anyone else on the outside looking in. So yeah, she knew that you would about shit. That's why she did it. But anyway, let's get back to this story. So after saying that was like very telling for everyone on the jury. So he already knew that this plan has went sideways to hell. He knew he ain't had no money to pay this guy. He knew that this could, that's why he was stressing. I mean, yeah, that's crazy, man. So anyway, while this is coming out, they also talked about that Jenkins' whole motivation was also not only about greed, but he was jealous of his wife and her success. Like, he's over here, I'm part-time barber, I'm in her shadow. Everybody talk about how my wife is so smart, so gorgeous, so this, so that. What about me? What about me? And then, not to mention, too, his wife was getting tired of him, as the prosecutor had said. She knew that he could not keep it in his pants. She knew he had community penis. And she just was tired. She had decided that she was just going to be better by herself. She just didn't need him anymore. And I'm quite sure he realized it. And he went into straight survival mode. And what made it so bad is that he made this statement of, "Wow, I guess he didn't change it in time," right in front of his brother-in-law, which, again, brother-in-law still is also perplexed, like, in time, what is he talking about? And then the prosecution talked about how there was nothing taken from this rock. Okay, no one wanted anything but to kill that one person in the master bedroom The children were directed to be able to be taken out of harm's way downstairs. No one didn't even get hit. Nothing. Just her. Only one. Come on now. Home invaders is trying to annihilate everybody if they're going to be on some shooting stuff. They ain't trying to leave no witnesses. So they also talked about the only reason Makeeva Jenkins was killed was because her husband wanted her dead. Now the defense came with their own version. They was like, Jenkins might not be the only person that had a motive to harm Makeeva. In fact, they argued that Makeeva herself had endangered herself by broadcasting her wealth on public platforms like Instagram, Facebook, the social media things, TikTok, all that stuff. And they also hammered away at the character and reliability of Dale and Joseph. But even Adrian had to admit that they could not have made the case without them. So they knew that although they had this phone call from an insurance company, although they had some strange behavior from Yuri, a weird interview right after the homicide occurred on TV without other people that he conspired with, then this is just out there. There are facts with no context. So, but it's all good because the prosecutors got a huge unexpected assist from Jenkins on defense team. It turned out that Demetri Dale had actually recorded some phone conversations with Jenkins, but for various reasons. The prosecution had not been allowed to introduce them in case in chief. Now there's a portion of that recording that I am going to read out to you verbatim. Nothing much. You know who this is. Yeah, I'm talking to you, boy. Can you talk to me? Yeah, I can talk. So my homeboy trying to say that you got him to do this shit and da 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 da. And this is Demetri basically playing Yuri, that Jovan is saying that he's going to confess to Oliver that he did it, though, the detective. So he's trying to say that he finna just go ahead and snitch. You know what I'm saying? He's going to confess to Oliver that he did it. He's trying to say that he's going to just go ahead and snitch. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's trying to tell his homeboy. And in other words, your response is, oh man, tell him off. Don't do that. Man, this will mess my life up. Your life up. And as soon as Demetri says that, that's when Yuri says, man, tell your boy to be quiet. He going to get us in trouble. He just need to sit tight. Although we knew that we couldn't play them because they were not at the request of law enforcement. And they were very incriminating. That's what he's saying, bro. So he's going to just go ahead and tell the truth. Yuri respond, no, bro. We can't tell him nothing like this, man. Yeah, that's going to fuck everybody's life up, bro. But once Jenkins' defense decided to use those same recordings in his cross-examination of Demetri Dale, they became admissible, adding to the pile of damning circumstantial evidence. They proved that Yuri Jenkins had ordered and orchestrated a cold-blooded murder. All right, I'm gonna stop right here for a minute and speak on this. I want to know what the fuck part of law school this guy learned to go ahead and get this type of information that was illegally recorded submissible to court. I mean, that these things are damning. The things he's saying, the way he's telling old boy to keep his mouth shut, don't say nothing, mess my life up. I would have never admitted that in court. You can't do no mind gymnastics on that. That is pure, yeah. That's just pure evil. So, good job. And then to add one more detail that came out during the trial, witnesses said that Jenkins had actually gone to a strip club the night after his wife was murdered. And Yuri's response was that that was how he agreed. It took the jury just 3 hours to find Yuri Jenkins guilty of first degree. He would end up being sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Because he was the mastermind. But for him, none of these people ever came back to his house. And so it is him. And he deserved a punishment. And it's him with a sentiment that was shared by Makeeva's grandmother, who told Alexa and Adrian that her hope was the strictest punishment be reserved for Jenkins and ultimately give her blessings for the lesser sentences handed down to his accomplice. Now, one of the hardest things about this case was they all had to make deals, right? Like Jovan Joseph, who pulled the trigger and then cooperate with investigators, he pleaded guilty. Now, Jovan Joseph will receive 15 years in the Department of Corrections, right? Because he pled guilty to manslaughter. Now, here's the thing. He'll probably get good time in there, and he'll probably only have to serve 8 or 9 years, especially with time served. Demetri Dale also pled guilty and was sentenced to 1 year in the Palm Beach County Jail with credit for time served. But it would have been difficult to prove his case anyway. But I got some very good spin-offs on Demetri Dale. And so now we are going to talk about what is going on with Demetri Dale now. So let's talk about it. So I told you that Demetri Dale, yeah. Remember I told y'all Demetri Dale did not get off as a rose like you thought he did. Let's talk about karma for Demetri Dale. So Demetri Dale, who decided that he was gonna come off smelling like a rose, and I guess he thought karma would never catch up to him. Well, it did. Oh, karma catched up with him, baby. And let's talk about how karma got old Demetri Dale. So Demetri Dale decided that it was a good idea that back in the day when this young girl was 13, that he wanted to violate her. And he thought that it would never come back to him. Well, it did. Because in Mecklenburg County, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina, my home city, 24-year-old Demetri Dale in July 19th in 2022 was found guilty of statutory violation of a child 15 years of age or younger, and 2 counts of indecent liberties with said child. Now, Judge George Bell sentenced Dale to a total of 117 to 211 months in prison. Prosecutor said he was also sentenced to an additional 21 to 35 months in prison, with the latter suspended pending his successful completion of 60 months of supervised probation. Following his release from prison, Dale must register as a sex offender for the next 30 years. So let's talk about how many months he really got to serve in prison. Because I know y'all like 117 to 211. So well, how much time is that? Well, I'm bidding it to you because I knew it was coming. He's got to do 9 3/4 to about 17 and a half years in prison. So that's where he's at. Almost 18 years. So 9 to 18 years in prison. Then he got to do an additional 21 to 35 months in prison. So yeah, he's looking at almost 30 years in prison. And when he released from prison, he's got to do another 30 years of registering as a sex offender. Now, Dale met the victim at a national conference that she attended with her church. He then started communicating with her through social media, and in 2017, he traveled to Charlotte from his home in Florida. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that about the same time? That was around about the same time he was doing his 2017 was a crazy year for Odell, because he also did something dirty that same year with setting up Demetri. Demetri setting up Yuri's situation to meet old Jovan Joseph. Now, the DNA evidence discovered in the victim's sexual assault forensic exam and on the defendant's corroborated her account and identified Dale as the man who assaulted her, according to the DA. DNA evidence discovered in the victim's sexual assault forensic exam and on the defendant's corroborated her account and identified Dale. Said that. So anyway, prosecutors applaud the victim, now 18, for her incredible bravery. I really do. I appreciate. I'm glad that they did that for her, because it do take a brave soul to come forth like that. Now, we also going to talk about what happened to uh, um, Yuri Jenkins now. So we're going to go to order of corrections, and we're going to talk about Jovan Joseph, and we're about to look up some people. First things first. So first things first, we're going to talk about Mr. Joseph, Jovan. Hold on, y'all. Let me find this guy. I am trying to find it. I mean, it's where you can just search for stuff. Yeah, I think he's already out. So let me look at. Yeah, I think Joseph Jovan is out, because I have not seen him. Yeah, I think he's out, but I'm quite sure that Jenkins is definitely still in. That would have made headline. And here we got it. He is still sentenced to life. He is inmate number I is in Indian 31546. And he is in close custody, sentenced to life in prison, and was entered in the system on June the 1st, 2022. Yep, that's where he at. That's what he's got. He's not coming home, baby. Now, I'm still going to try to see if I can find his homie and see what I get. Hopefully, I have not found out if he's been released or not. And I think he is released. And he may have. He may be gone. I know that he must have gotten time served, but he is no longer in there. So we're going to go and jump into what we can learn about this case. Y'all know it's my favorite, my thoughts. First and foremost, we're going to jump into Demetri Dale. Demetri Dale, to me, I am so glad karma got your ass, because you thought that you could orchestrate this type of crime and you could walk away smelling like a rose and never got caught. Newsflash, that's not how life works, player. Just because you didn't get your just due right then, you're going to get it before you leave this world or when you go into the afterlife. So I am so glad you got caught up, and now you got to do a hard 9 to almost a minimum of 9 to almost 30 years in prison for being a straight menace. I'm so glad that they got your cowardly ass. Second, let's talk about Jovan Joseph. Jovan Joseph, wherever you are, I hope that you learned your lesson that crime do not pay. Being a killer, especially for someone who hired you to kill their spouse, should have told you right then, what kind of person is this? This is the mother of your children. This is supposed to be someone you're supposed to be protected. And if y'all can't get along like that no more, let her ass go. Get off your ass and do something. You got resources. It ain't like you couldn't. So this tells me right here and there that you is just a mindless, spineless asshole. Last but not least, let's talk about Yuri Jenkins. Yuri, you deserve everything that came to you, player. You had a woman that would do anything in the world for your ugly ass. Yeah, I said it. You was ugly as sin. I don't know what the world that woman saw in you, because you don't look no handsome. You look ugly as shit. Either way it goes, I don't understand why in the world that you could not just straighten up and get it together so you can be building an empire with your queen. Bruh, You was straight. All you had to do was be loyal, be a good husband. You could have still been in there like swimwear. You could have been good to go. And even let's say she wanted to get tired of you, all of your devotion and your love and everything that you would have done the right way, she could have broke you off something. But no, nah, you like the rest of these motherfuckers out here, you can't go that route. You had to be straight ignorant. You had to go and parade these women in this woman's face, messing with these women and having side babies and shit on her. And you thought that shit was sweet, that she was going to continue to put up with it. But she found her strength and her worth, her voice. She knew that she deserved better. She knew that you was not shit. And she knew to get away from shit like you, she had to make a move and put her foot down. Unfortunately, though, baby girl did not have the right type of muscle behind her to make sure your raggedy ass should have left the scene ASAP. So for you to come out here and act like you're the victim, going on TV, lying to these people that you don't know what happened to your wife, going up here and lying to the family members with that fake ass crying and moving around like you so out of it. Man, I hope they tell you a new asshole in prison, because I have no respect for what you did. You're a coward. That's what you are. You're a coward. Not to mention, you was even cool enough to let this woman get killed in front of her little brother, who took her like a mother figure. That lets me know you ain't shit. And he tried to talk you into trying to fight for your home and stop the actual crime going down. But we know you ain't gonna do that, because that's not what you wanted. You wanted to see her suffer, so you can be able to say, I got you. I'm the man now. Woo! Man, that was a lot. I don't really go into deep like that, but I just got pissed with that bastard. Every time I think about this story, I want to slap the shit out of that dude. I don't have no respect for him. Again, rest in peace to Makeeva, uh, Makeeva Harold, formerly known as Makeeva Jenkins. Sweetheart, I hope that you and God are having a good time up there. I hope that you continue to watch over your children and be a shining light for all women out there. And women, let me tell y'all something. And I gotta say this and then I'm wrapping this. If you with a man who you are out here getting it and he don't have no drive to get it, he don't want to get it, he wants to take the less role of resistance as possible. When it comes to doing his own business, he's always just methodically making sure that you the workhorse and he is not the workhorse. You need to sit down and tell him you either about trying to get it together, or maybe y'all may have to go your separate ways, because this right here should be a very cautionary tale to all women, and not only just women, men too. If you out here busting your ass and you got a chick and all she want to do is, do opposite of helping you, don't want to hold you down, man, do yourself a favor. Leave that shit alone, because you could be just like Makeeva. You could wake up one day, you could go to bed one day and never wake up. So again, shout out to the crew. Thank y'all for the support. I love y'all guys. Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm out.